welcome US Virgin Islands Chess. It's been about a week since I've added to my FIDE Online playlist games to share with you guys. Here's a game against my opponent, rated FIDE ELO Online Arena just the other day, 1600. Had the black pieces in this game. Let's get right into it, guys. d4, d5, c4, knight f6. You guys know how I play. e3, bishop f5, knight c3, a6, pretty normal stuff, queen b3. Now saying that I'm going to win the center pawn, my opponent. Or unless you capture. So anyways, in this position, I played the move b6. C captures on d5, e6, d captures on e6, bishop captures e6 pawn, and bishop to c4, offering an exchange. Accepting the exchange, now being down a pawn. b5, but we're going to see, despite being down a pawn in this position, that black can gain some initiative through bishop b4, bishop d2, and short castles. Notice how, despite being down a pawn and white has the center, that black has already castled, and white has not gotten a chance to develop the knight until now. So c5, played by myself, and c5 was the best move in the position. c5 is by far the best move. Really the only continuation if you want anything to play for. So short castle is played by my opponent, now c captures on d4, played by myself, knight captures pawn, queen to d6. And there's a reason why queen to d6 was so important. Rook from f to d1, now aligning with the black queen. Knight c6 played by myself, knight captures horse, knight captures c6, rook a c1, aligning with the black queen again. Now this time queen to e6 square, a3 pawn push attacking the bishop, bishop d6, h3, queen e5 now, threatening the h2 square. f4 played by my opponent, directly attacking the queen obviously. Queen goes back to e6 square, the light square. Queen f3 played by my opponent, rook f to e8, rook e1, and queen to b3. Okay, so queen to b3 was the best move in order to get something going in this game. And after rook to b1, defending the attacked pawn again, I played bishop to c5. And there's going to be a lot of pressure now on this e pawn. So king to h1, just avoiding the skewer or the pin. Now rook a to d8, rook to e2, played by my opponent. Rook d3 now played by myself, and there's going to be a lot of pressure here, as mentioned just a moment ago. Pay attention. Knight to e1, knight to e4, now attacking the dark squared bishop, but now taking away one of the defenders of the e3 pawn. This is why rook to c1 was played now, attacking the bishop. And first, the best move here is knight captures on d2, move 27. Queen c6, played by my 1600 level rapid opponent. Threat is checkmate, queen e8. So that's why I played rook from e to d8 now, double rooks on the d file, and prepared to give up the dark squared bishop. My opponent captures, queen captures on c5, and now h6, not allowing any more back rank issues. And after knight to f2, dropping the attacked rook back to attack my opponent's white queen, offering an exchange of queens with queen to c3, accepting. And after rook captures, did you guys find knight to f1 after all this? Well, if you guys found knight to f1, congratulations, because that's actually going to be leading to a winning line here for black. So king to g1 played by my opponent, knight to g3, rook to e1, and now rook to d2. So in this position, white is up a pawn on move 34, and it is white to play. And white played the move b4, and b4 is a mistake. you guys find the move without looking at the algebraic notation that your instructor, your operator, not really your instructor, you guys, I'm just your technical support, your operator, to get you guys to play at a higher level. The best move undoubtedly in the position, even though the engine doesn't like it, is just knight e2 check. And in this position, my opponent captured with the rook, and I captured back with my rook. And now black is up in exchange for a pawn. So my opponent continued with knight to e4, rook to e8, king to f1, rook to a2 now, and knight c5 just attacks a6 pawn, of course. So rook to d8 and knight to d3, rook to d2, knight drops back f2, rook a2 again. Not going to repeat moves here, just first throwing a check, and after king a2 checking the king again. King moves forward, now there's a double attack on the knight. Knight goes back to c5, forward to c5 rather, rook a8 now. Knight e4 attacking my rook, so my rook drops back. King to e2, rook to a1, now preparing to win the pawn. And now in this position, after all is said and done, knight c5, can you guys find the move for black here? The best move is just to push the pawn, the a pawn that is, and after b captures, rook captures. And my opponent believed that he was going to be able to fork my rooks in this position. Now without looking at the script, the algebraic notation, find the best move for black in this position. After I give everyone a couple of seconds, find the best move for black that defeats the fork. That is rook a2 check. After king is forced to move, then capturing the a pawn. So rook to c8 check played by my opponent, king h7, knight d4, and b4, rook b8, now getting behind the passed b pawn. And rook b7 was played, and king g6 was not the move played in the game. Instead I played the move rook from a to a2. My opponent captured the f pawn, which was a mistake, because now after I get to check the king, rook captures on g2, knight to f5, and I played the move b3, rook to b7 played by my opponent, yes, and now b2, king to e5, rook to a1, and h4, b1 equals queen, rook captures, and it was in this position that my opponent resigned the game, guys. Okay, so I wanted to share this game to show you how not to get discouraged. Let's go all the way back to the opening now, after knight f6. Do not get discouraged after giving up an early pawn in the opening, so long as you have your pieces already coordinated. So here, yes, if you decide to play e6, you are giving up a free pawn with bishop to e6 now with a direct attack on the b3 queen. And after an exchange, it's okay to be down a pawn in this position, because as we saw after b5, queen e2 and bishop e4, bishop d2, and short castles, black has better piece coordination than white. Even after knight to f3, because c5 is a very special move, and we saw that after short castles and now chopping through the center and now making some threats, and now after the exchange of the first pair of knights, some queen maneuvers now, and just playing better chess than my opponent after queen e5, queen e6 after f4, queen f3, rook fe8, and queen to b3 really stuck out a lot. Now this attack that we went over after king h1 and rook a to d8, there's going to be a lot of pressure. Now there's a square there. Rook to d3 was really the star move of this game, as now we were able to show and prove that black in this position has just better positional initiative. Let's go over what happened again. Rook c1, knight captures d2 bishop, now threatening checkmate. The threat is checkmate, queen e8. So rook e d8, giving up the bishop, giving back the capture that was allowed previously. Knight attacking the best rook. Rook attacking queen, drops back, and yes, white is up at pawn, but knight f1 is a very special tactic here because after this maneuver, knight g3, rook is forced to move backwards, the only good square. And now getting the rook up to d2 and b4, yes, there is knight e2, and that's a beautiful move now because this forks the king and this rook all the way over here on c3. So I hope you guys liked knight f1. Everybody take care. See you on the other side with much more to come. Your operator, Virgin Islands operator. Take care, everyone. Much more to come on the other side. And thank you for getting a lot out of this. My opponent rated around 1600 here and taught him a good lesson. Taught you guys a lesson too today. So take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Thanks for now. See you later.